Welcome to the 2023 Economic Depression and Preparation channel. Thank you for joining me on this September 13th, 2023 edition. We're going to be talking about a lot, but first, please be sure to subscribe to Preach to Me channel for the latest interpretation of financial news. We're not financial analysts, but we're concerned more about self-sustainability, survival of the fittest, and also about our total holistic well-being. Not just the economic well-being, but our physical, spiritual, and mental well-being as we go through one of the greatest collapses of empires that we've seen in the last, 50 to 100 years. And so right now we're only in the third to fourth inning of this total collapse right now of society. And ladies and gentlemen, inflation is continuing to be a problem, not just in food and energy, but in other ways that are more anticipated. Now, also, we're worried about the credit crunch. Access to credit is starting to become more and more tight as interest rates rise, and also the concern about strikes and labor unions, not just in the United States, but also in Europe and UK and Canada and other countries, where strikes are becoming more common, services are being more disrupted, as you can see, and people are becoming more socially short-fused or short-tempered. People are saying less good mornings, less thank yous, less, you're welcome to goods and services. People are becoming short-fused, driving on these freeways, cutting people off more viciously and beeping at people more at stoplights and stop signs. So we're seeing all of this as a result of the pent-up stress and frustration that even though the pandemic has somewhat eased in terms of we're not wearing masks anymore, people are still, you can feel it in the air that they're still a little bit tense, and rightly so, because things are getting hard to make ends meet. And so you can see here, August core inflation, according to CNBC, rose 0.03%, harder than expected. Now, this is just their numbers. We know that inflation last month rose a good 1 to 2% easily, but they brought it down to 0.03%. It's all in the numbers, how you word it, how you spin it, as you know, depending on which journalistic outlet that you listen to. But regardless of that, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line is that inflation is coming in hot. It will continue to be hot. And I told you this a couple of videos ago, that inflation is going to continue to run hot throughout this whole presidency, throughout 2024 too as well. So we're not in no home stretch inning yet. We're not in a rebirth or a re-emergence of this economy yet. And as you can see, the 30-year T-bond is now at 4.3% yield. To 10-year T-note is at 4.3%. And all these are climbing. So this is not a good sign. Not a good sign. Although I will say, for those of you invested in CDs or some other type of short-term note T-bills, you are getting a pretty good yield now at over 5%, 6%, and that's jumping. So that's helpful for some of the savers out here in our community. However, inflation hit workers' paychecks, quote unquote. And this is the real thing right here. Real average hourly earnings declined for the month. This is the first decline we've seen, ladies and gentlemen, for the year. Most of the time, the media outlets, everybody's telling us that, the cost of living increases that we receive and that retirees receive and Social Security receive and that regular workers receive beginning of January through March, that was enough to help quell the inflation. Now we're seeing that wages are going down, but inflation's going up and it's hitting paychecks. And we know this because the consumer price index has risen here. This is the chart according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics here. You can see here that it's increased up here for all items. This is excluding food and energy. So all items have increased. You go to the Dollar General, the Dollar Tree, whatever is in your community, and the things are no longer not even $1 or $2. They're $5 to $7 a piece. You know what I mean? You go to these bulk stores like Costco, Sam's, BJ's, whatever you have in your area, Winco, whatever big store you have in your area, and prices are jumping up weekly, and food and utilities and everything is jumping up. And so this is the concern that we have, is that housing is going up as well. And now we have a credit crunch. This is the biggest thing. This is what many of us have been surviving off of: business credit, personal business credit, personal loans, lines of credit, things of that nature. Fears over access to credit. This is in the CNBC today, Monday. Hit highest level in more than a decade, New York Fed survey shows. So now we have a thing right here. The ability to get credit for consumers is harder now than it was a year ago, okay? So now we have a situation where, you may have 5, 1, 5, 8, 10 credit cards. And let me say this, there's nothing wrong with having a credit card. Obviously, you need them at certain cases to rent a car, hotels, emergencies, etc. Nothing wrong with that. And some people, I know many in my community, they pay out their credit cards in 1 or 2 months or 3 months or whatever the case may be. But the issue comes when the access to credit is being denied to us as Americans, okay? And this is going to be very crucial. As the interest rates continue to rise, the ability to get loans, credit cards, and mortgages is harder now than it was a year ago. It just came out today. Many of you probably seen it on CNN and other places that mortgage rates hit a 30-year low in terms of mortgage applications hit a 30-year low since 1986 today, this week. And now here we are in the middle of September. So we're going to face a situation now where we're going to have rising interest rates and lowering wages. So that can only mean one thing, ladies and gentlemen. That means recession. Okay. Yay, even depression. If we have 2 back-to-back quarters of a severe recession, you might as well say we're in a depression. So now we have a situation where labor unions, people are fighting now for more wages, but the wages are not the problem. The problem is the corporations, the top 1%, are not giving back the money. They're not giving it back through taxes. And they're not giving it back through dividends or anything for the stockholders that invest in these companies. So people are saying we're going on strike. Unions are becoming fewer and fewer. And as you know, many of you have commented on this on my videos, that we're going to a technocratic society, meaning AI and robots are going to be taking over a lot of these union jobs, as you know, anyway, in a few years. And because they don't, who these companies feel like they don't have to value us as workers, because they can use robots who don't complain, file grievances, who don't need a break, and they can work them 24/7. They don't need a lunch break. They don't have to pay them benefits or pensions or anything, and they don't have to go to workers meetings. The robots can work 24/7. They only need battery replacement and a few maintenance on whatever they need maintenance on. So this is going to be a concern heading into 2024. The amount of disgruntled workers, the amount of disgruntled people in general. And another thing I want to talk to you about too is that we could see a resurgence of corona cases. They're coming up with something, all these variants. Have you seen that? They're releasing a new, the big pharmaceutical companies are releasing a new vaccine for the variants now. This is going to be a big concern. I want you to be very careful with this, because as we head into the fall, winter, and next year, there could be a resurgence that could bring back, I would say, the mask mandates as well as the shutdowns in some form, in some fashion, in some of these cities, some of these major cities. So be on the lookout for that in Chicago, New York, Philly, DC, on the East Coast first, and then for you guys on the West Coast, LA, San Francisco, that you guys will follow likely after that with Governor Newsom and those guys. So be very careful about that. I believe that there's going to be a coming back, a resurgence of that, whether manufactured or not. It's going to be coming back because we know it's like the flu season that's not going away, and this is going to pose a problem for a lot of people, because it's gonna pose a problem, because it's gonna impact a lot of us, who have side hustles and different things, because a lot of people are gonna be staying indoors for the variants during the winter and everything, and they're not gonna be making as much disposable income, have work to be able to take care of things. So be very cautious about that. Save, stack up, continue to invest, continue to be smart, continue to help each other out, because we're still not out of the woods yet with this corona thing, with this pandemic. We're still not out of the woods yet with this economy, obviously. And so I just wanted to bring that to you. There'll be more forthcoming in a later video in terms of the consumer price index, the CPI, and what that means in the last 4 months of this year in terms of how high can inflation go. Shadowstats.com has inflation above 12% right now. We know that for a fact. But the secret is, the thing that people are wondering is when is the Federal Reserve Bank going to pivot? When are they going to start raising rates? They've said they're not going to start raising rates until after 2024, basically after the elections. But could there be a pivot earlier or not? That's what I want to talk about later on this week when we get the jobs report numbers on Thursday, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. at Eastern time. We'll digest that. I'll come back on and break that down, and I'll tell you how to proceed from there in terms of what you need to prepare for. And remember, this preparation is not just for self, it's for community. We're all about community self-sustainability here, because when the lights go out, when the internet goes out for any reason, okay, when there's censorship, when the lights go out, the power goes out, and the people act different, and we need to have community. No man is an island, no woman is an island. So that's why it's important to get back to that. In 1929, how did they survive? They survived by community and by denying themselves some pleasure. So maybe that means a lot of us may have to give up a Netflix or whatever that means. We're gonna have to get back to practicing that right now, while we still have the lights on, while we still have the internet on, and while we still have the amenities of this whole first world type of situation, because things can change rapidly. God bless those people in Libya, the floods in Libya, and as well as in Greece. I don't want to leave out my neighbors in Greece as well. Many have died or passed away. Many businesses were destroyed. That's an economic impact for those countries. Morocco too as well with the earthquake. And so, like I said, a black swan event can come out of anywhere and shut a whole city down or area down in just a matter of days. So we thank God that we are here in America, Canada, Europe, wherever you may be, South America, and that we have the lights on, and that we have food on the table, we have a shelter to go to at the end of the workday, or at the end of several work days. So God bless you guys. I'll talk to you very soon. Be subscribed. Tell your friends and neighbors to subscribe, and I'll have new videos shortly for you later on after the jobs report comes out this Thursday morning at 8:30 Eastern time, I believe. Thank you.